Welcome to Oneness and Wellness. This is the second part of a session on loneliness, and I'm here with Lorraine and Marsha, and we've just had a great kind of in the first show a great talk about loneliness and being alone, and then what happens with that separation and vulnerability, and then we had a wonderful comment by one of our audience participants here who talked about, vulnerability and intimacy, and it was very good.
Humans are constantly craving intimacy, but we're so terrified of intimacy because everyone has a part of themselves or qualities about themselves that are unreconciled, that they don't like, or they're not comfortable being seen. And when you're intimate with someone, they see all of you, your totality. And if someone looks at you and sees you and validates, I don't like that about you, that can be extremely devastating for people. So many people, although they crave intimacy, they also find it terrifying because they may fear that if someone validates something about themselves that they don't like, that they could never recover. And some people who have their heart broken, they don't go on to love again because that initial pain was too difficult for them.
Yeah, no, I think this series is wonderful, and what we're doing here is we're exploring issues and how issues keep us in the experience of separation. So we've been talking about different issues, what they look like, what they feel like. We've talked, shame and issues about money and anxiety, and now we're talking about loneliness. And you can't really talk about loneliness without addressing the need to connect and the need for intimacy. And what came up was how scary it is to be vulnerable. And it is our greatest strength, but it is also our greatest fear. And I thank Laura for her comment. It's very, she said very clearly, to be seen in our totality is a terrifying thing, and yet it's the only way. And the strength comes from a willingness to be seen and being comfortable enough with ourselves so that we're not dependent on someone else to validate our experience of ourselves. That fear of rejection runs so deep for us, and I think so many of us give the world mixed signals. We want to connect, don't we? But then we also keep our secret parts, hidden, just like we were talking about in shame. It's like, I see me here, but don't see this, and so we give the world mixed signals, but to actually put that all down and be present and vulnerable, it's a tall order. But then that's our work, isn't it?
I would say so, for sure.
Yeah.
I get lost in kind of thinking about things. These are great topics, and I hope that our viewing audience is really paying attention because it's about you and me and all of us. It's not just what Lorraine is saying or what Marsha is saying, but it's trying to get us to look at who we are, and how this issue affects us in some way.
And we put great effort into how we want others to see us, don't we?
Absolutely.
I mean, in terms of, we were sort of talking about social media in these past episodes. When people post things, they don't really post about what they're doing in their moment. They post about how they want to be seen. They post the image of how they're hoping the world will take them in. And it's always a little more glamorous. It's a little more fun-loving. It's a little more, we put a lot of effort into the image that we project into the world. And then it creates a gap to how we're actually experiencing ourselves to be. And then on some level, if we're going to be honest, so many of us sort of feel like a fraud. Right, we put all this effort into this image, and we put out into the world, women, and
if they only knew.
If they only knew, exactly. So, we sort of talked about this on the issue of shame. You kind of create this faux sense of self that you put out, and one of two things happen. either the world doesn't buy it and you look like an idiot, or the world does buy it and you don't feel an integrity in some way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think sometimes, when people have, they will say things that they have views about me, and I said, "Oh, that's not really me.
Right.
That's not me." And you need to know that sometimes I swear, and sometimes I,
Sorry. It was
and
too
sometimes
easy.
I'm not so nice.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
think
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
nice, but there's sometimes that I'm not like that. And ask my husband.
Ask the people we're intimate with.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right. Exactly. The people that
Yeah.
you live with,
Yeah.
who are you,
Yeah.
So, sometimes even though you're not even trying to project that image,
Yeah.
people perceive something different about you.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
and you say, that's not me,
Yeah. And one of the many reasons I'm so grateful for my dear husband is that he sees my potential, he believes in me. He also sees my issues. I'm not really getting away with anything there. He's very,
Yeah.
and he accepts those and loves those
That's
as
true.
part of me while
That's true.
supporting me through them. And that's, you can't ask for better than that. And even so, of course, like everyone else in the world, as a karmic human being, I struggle within my stuff. But that's key.
Right.
When
we
you
all
have
do.
that, I'm sorry, invaluable support, it's like he's got your back.
Yeah.
No matter what,
Yeah.
he's got your back. And how often do we feel that in life?
Yeah.
That no matter what,
Yeah.
I got your back.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my husband. Yeah, absolutely. He's in every way.
Yeah.
Whether he's making dinner or
Yeah.
it's something he says. I love you no matter what.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful
And
way to live.
what an amazing thing, if we could all do for each other, sort of a balance between, with love, calling someone on their stuff, but not judging them for having it.
Absolutely.
It's a fine line, but to
is
be
a
able to
fine
say,
line.
hey,
Yeah.
that, do you really, is that okay? It's not really okay the way but without condemning them or creating distance. Can we have that kind of vulnerability and sharing and use it to come together as opposed to creating distance?
Yeah, to use it as an invitation as
Yeah.
opposed to a weapon.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And with the holidays coming, we have all this opportunity, to, we was talking about the shoulds and where we should be going, who we should be with. If I don't have a partner, I should have one, all that kind of thing. There's plenty of opportunity to take a look at that.
Yeah, it's an interesting, that people think that they have to be this group together for this holiday,
Yeah.
for this.
The rules.
The rules, and we're really free of that. I feel a freedom with that. If one member of my family and the grandkids, they go someplace, somebody else goes it is what it is.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
but I didn't always feel that way.
Sure.
So I mean, it's been a gradual, I think, adjustment
Yeah.
for myself in knowing who I am and how I want to live.
Yeah, and I think a big part of the loneliness, especially around the holiday seasons, is when we see our crowd. There's a pressure to put an image forth. I'm doing great. Look how well I'm doing. Da, 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 and then suddenly you're again working through a buffered image of yourself, and it creates that sense of fraud disconnect that I'm talking about, and that can make it hard, even if that image is accurate. Even if that image is, and you're as successful as you want to project yourself to be, we still have this habit of projecting this image to the world, and it's just an image. And can we actually just drop that and be?
Well, I love the statement that you just made, which was getting to the point of, well, really, what did you say exactly? Well, what do I want?
Yeah.
Yeah, what do I want to do? The holidays coming up. Do we want to do this? Do I want to do that? I make my expression. He makes his expression of it. And then we decide. I'm not going to have my daughter or my son decide
Yeah.
what we do. It's up to me. It's up to, working that out with my husband.
And how often do we ask that question? I think it's a great question.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. not that you're not going to feel guilty. I'll feel guilty if I
Yeah.
don't do that. No, 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 no. That's
It's, that honesty, though, is a beautiful place for people to meet us. You know, it's one way of inviting intimacy.
Absolutely.
Because it starts here and see what happens.
Yeah.
right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for saying that.
Well, thank you. So I know. So I think this issue of loneliness, and it, as you said, especially at the time of holidays, and really looking at ourselves.
Yeah.
You know, what is my issue with loneliness?
Yeah.
You know, and how do I feel, and how do I
Yeah.
address it, and how do I, you know, make a change?
Yeah.
You know, and
Yeah.
I think that's
One of my best New Year's Eves ever was one spent alone. I actually gave myself permission to not see anyone, and I lived in a small West Village apartment, and I spent the night watching the Star Trek marathon and cleaning out, such a Virgo thing, right? Cleaning out my apartment and getting rid of all stuff, and it was a great sense of detachment, and I felt free to feel how I was. I really had a great time because leading into New Year's Eve, which is such a high-pressure holiday, such a high-pressure holiday. Well, who am I going to be with? What am I going to do? Who do I want to, you know? And it was me and my cat, and it was great.
I love it. You know, it reminds me. I'm listening to you, and it reminds me of this. I don't know what the holiday. Maybe it was Thanksgiving or anything. But I decided that I was going to clean. A friend called. She said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm cleaning out my refrigerator." So she wrote this poem about cleaning out your refrigerator. It was hysterical, and I laughed. So she'll kid me about it. I said, "What are you doing this Thanksgiving? Your refrigerator again?" But I mean, it was truly was fun, you know. And I think that's the whole thing, is to be able to laugh at yourself too.
Yeah.
You know, good sense of humor, you know,
Yeah.
is a big plus.
It is. It's very important. And, you know, in that choice to clean out the refrigerator or watch the Star Trek marathon, it brings us back to what we were saying early about the difference between loneliness and being alone, you know, and the power and the strength that can come in solitude. The loneliness, I would have been far more lonely if I went to some crowd
Exactly.
to project some image, to do something that
Right.
just didn't feel in
Right.
integrity. And being present is an integrity, you know.
Say it again. Being present is an integrity.
Is being in an integrity. Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
Truthfulness.
And being honest with love, not with judgment or with criticism,
No,
but just being
no.
honest about
Yeah.
what is happening in the moment. Absolutely. And that's where all of this stuff comes back to.
Right.
You know,
And the point that you
No, no, go
just
ahead.
made so beautifully was vulnerability starts with us, and being vulnerable and taking care of ourselves and actually doing it in a way that's fun.
Yeah.
Vulnerability over fun things kind of gives us the strength and the wisdom of being in that place of vulnerability. So when it's not so easy, we got some muscle in place
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
with another person. But if we don't start it with ourselves, it's terrifying to think about sharing vulnerability anywhere else.
Yeah.
Right. Keep that thought going. We'll be right back. We're going to take a short break. Thank you for watching.
If you'd like more information about Vortex Healing, you can go to my website, LorraineGoldblum.com, or Vortex Healing in general, you can go to vortexhealing.org, where you can get more information on other teachers, as Vortex Healing is taught all over the world.
For more information, check out our website, www.onenessandwellness.com. Thank you. Look forward to hearing us, and watch our show.
So looking forward to upcoming issues, we want to explore anger and we want to explore grief. So if you're interested in joining us, please get more information on my website, LorraineGoldblum.com.
Welcome back to Oneness and Wellness. I'm here with Lorraine and Masha, and we're talking about loneliness. We're talking about integrity and some really, maybe some challenging issues to think about and
Yeah.
to consider.
It's kind of a holiday episode because, I was thinking about, issues to address with the holidays coming up. We've been talking about loneliness, and I've been thinking a lot about New Year's resolutions and what we really do when we sit down and make our New Year's resolutions.
If we do it.
If we do it, and I do it less and less, to be honest with you, but I noticed what I often did. I shouldn't speak for everyone, but what I often did when I was making my New Year's resolutions, that they weren't so much about what I wanted to accomplish. There was an element of that. But most of my resolutions were more about the person I wanted to become. Lose weight, learn this so that you can do this, or deal with this issue so that you can be. That was really more of the thinking of the resolution. And it's not that that's bad per se, but can that be used as a way to sort of circle back and see, okay, so what's really going on with me that I feel that I need to become this other person? Am I really, does that reflect who I am, only better, or does that reflect myself in integrity? What is that really about? And can we take that as an opportunity to look back at ourselves and say, well, what am I now? What is that? Am I okay the weight I'm at now? Am I okay with the knowledge I have now? Am I okay with that? There's nothing wrong about wanting to move forward, but can we use it as an opportunity to recognize where we don't feel okay with ourselves?
One of the tools that I think we all have is to be able to write. Whether you keep in a journal, whether you write stories, whether you write poetry, but writing, you deal with the moment. You're in the moment, and and if you're honest with yourself, and if you're keeping a journal, then some really important information can come from that. So I think everybody has an opportunity to do that. If they can't write, they can use a little mic and talk about today is today, and how am I feeling, and what am I grateful for, and what's out there,
Any self-reflective tool, and writing is very good. A gratitude list is a wonderful thing. It's like, what do I have right here, right now, that I'm grateful for? And if we really, there are many things to be grateful for if we're willing to sort of take a look at that.
And if you're stuck in that lonely moment, sometimes it's hard to get out of it.
It's very hard to get out of, because we don't feel like we're seen, like we're connected, and it can easily spiral into deeper isolation. And sometimes we can sort of act through it and work through a kind of faux happiness personality, or sometimes we really do just go into isolation and hide out, and people handle it in different ways.
A lot of different ways.
A word on the gratitude journal, which I think is amazing. One time, Louise Hay had said she was grateful for her refrigerator. And I'm like, well, all right, this is just too nutty for me. I'm grateful for my refrigerator. Then I thought, well, let me check that out. And I thought of a life without a refrigerator. And I'm like, I love to cook. I mean, this would have been a disaster. And then from that moment on, that was a breakthrough for me, being grateful for a refrigerator. There's a ton of things to be grateful for that we just take for granted all the time.
We take so much for granted. Often the things we love the most, we take for granted. I'm not saying you love your refrigerator above all else,
but it's close, no.
Well, and the other thing is, so if you're stuck in that moment of loneliness, if you had something that said, remember to write down 3 things you're grateful for, and you look at it, it's in your journal, and you say, oh, wait a minute, let me just go there. So we need little prompts for ourselves I think, sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, to remember, you know, pick up the phone.
Yeah.
Or write it down.
Yeah.
Or, you know.
Well, recognize it for what it is. It's
Right.
okay to be lonely. Everyone has moments of loneliness. Don't judge it. Don't struggle with it. Don't decide it should be something else. I think for me, the struggle has been an avoidance technique. You know, it almost takes me out of where I need to be.
Oh.
Not, I have a story about not being okay with feeling how I'm feeling. That can distract someone, you know, as I've used it anyway, from just dealing with the issue directly.
Right.
So put that down, because that's a bypass. Be okay with how you're feeling. And then from there, from a place of compassion for yourself, the same compassion you would have for someone else, show yourself that kind of compassion. Pick up the phone or keep a journal or write something down. You know, take that moment of self-assessment to how am I feeling right now in this moment? What is in integrity for me? You know, and someone was commenting during break about, you know, regrets later in life. And what people really regret later in life is not taking that time to be in integrity with where their heart was. You know, she said it far more eloquently than I am, but you know, that's the essence of what has made me happy, what has brought me joy. You know, we don't take enough time to look at that.
Right. I think she was saying that she worked with people who end of life.
Yes.
And, you know, and how sad, really,
Yeah.
that you come to the end of your life
And regret.
and have a regret.
Yeah.
I regret that I didn't do this. And I recognize it now, and it's the end of my life. It's interesting.
That might be an interesting way to look at resolutions.
Yes.
You're
I
right.
think that's well said.
Yeah.
You know.
So to think about that, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this is, you know, we're having a very interesting conversation. I'm really appreciative of the audience, you know, that have been there and have been helping out with giving us, you know, not only the moral support, but their participation, you know, and their ideas of the issues that we've been talking about.
Well, you know, issues are shared. You know, there's an African proverb I stumbled across. Like, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go farther, go together.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, I like that too.
I like that. Yeah.
I wish I could remember where I stumbled across that, but it was just listed as an African proverb. And so the fact that, you know, we can discuss these things with people with shared experience means the world. You know, because issues are universal.
Right.
Issues are universal. And, you know, the workshop I'm doing at the Omega Institute this summer, it's called Our Karma and Our Journey, Transforming Universal Issues. So taking, you know, doing healings through a list of, you know, a number of the issues that we've talked about, addressing them. What are they? How do they keep us in separation? How do they keep us cut off from each other, the world around us, and our experience from our true self? That's what our issues do. And that's why we want to take them on.
Right, and I think what's so important is that that's what the program is about, oneness and wellness.
That's right.
And the oneness means the diversity of the world. And all the people in the world, the differences, not only cultural, but age and, you know, could be social, class, whatever the diversity might be, that we are one people.
Yeah.
And that, I think, and so saying what you just said, that everyone has issues and everyone has an opportunity to look at those issues and to make some changes in their lives.
Absolutely.
So, beautiful. Thank you so much. I really appreciate the sessions and appreciate your
you.
coming all the way from New York.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Namaste.